Do you know ball?
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 Do you know ball episode 54, ladies and gents. We're back. Thank you guys for being patient with us. Me and Zach have been finishing up a lot of school, but now we're back. It's summertime, so you guys are going to get a lot of great content. For those that don't know me, my name is Matt DiGennaro. I'm joining with Zach Papenberg. Zach, say hi.
What's going on, everybody?
All right, in today's show, we have a lot of NBA. It's actually an NBA solely pod because so much has happened in the basketball world. And I just want to jump right into it with the hottest topic right now, the NBA draft lottery. The Dallas Mavericks have won the draft lottery despite having a 1.8% chance to win it. And they are undoubtedly going to take Cooper Flag. That's what you might think. So let's talk about this for a second, right? So I want to get into a little bit more detail. The Dallas Mavericks had a 1.8% chance to win the draft lottery, right? They were in the play-in tournament. They almost made the playoffs, and yet somehow, some way, the impossible happened. They win the draft lottery, and they are almost undoubtedly going to take Cooper Flag, is what you might think. But it's possible that Nico Harrison could get crazy. He traded Luka Doncic. What's stopping him from trading Cooper Flag, the number one overall pick, and some filler for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Right? If you have a fully healthy team of Giannis, Kyrie, Anthony Davis, that is nasty. That is absolutely nasty. It really depends on the direction that the Mavericks want to take. I mean, if I were them, I would definitely look into maybe getting Giannis because that would make you an insane team. Because you still have Gafford, you'd have Lively, you'd have PJ Washington, you'd have Klay Thompson, Max Christie. It really depends who else would be included in that trade for Giannis, considering that you need to have filler in there. That's definitely something they should look into. But if they do decide to keep the pick and draft Cooper Flag, that is just a replacement for Luka Doncic because you just replace Luka with someone younger and someone who has great defensive capabilities. And that's what Nico Harrison was preaching. Defense wins championships. And that defense on that team, I mean, 80 and Cooper Flag enough is going to be absolutely nasty. So that's the one thing. There are a little bit of some conspiracies about this draft lottery that I will touch on a little bit later, but I want to just kind of go down to the Spurs and the Sixers. So the Spurs, the past 2 years, have had the rookie of the year, right? Victor Wembanyama and now Stephon Castle. And now they get blessed, absolutely blessed with the number two overall pick. What are they going to do? They are probably going to enter into the Giannis sweepstakes. I could totally see them offering whether it's the number two pick and or Stephon Castle for Giannis and a bunch of other picks. They are going to make a very lucrative offer to the Bucks, and I totally can see Giannis going to the Spurs. And I just think having Giannis and Wemby would absolutely break the league. And on top of that, you still have De'Aaron Fox. That big three is going to be absolutely nasty if it does happen. So the Spurs, the most blessed franchise in the NBA, go from David Robinson to Tim Duncan to Kawhi to Victor Wembanyama, and they just now, keep adding and adding and adding to that young core. And, it's whatever. I will try not to let bias take over. And then you get to the Sixers. The Sixers, who are already a championship contender when healthy, have an injury riddled season, kind of like the Warriors did years ago, that allowed them to draft James Wiseman. But this time, the Sixers have the opportunity to take Ace Bailey, who is projected to go three. It's between him and VJ Edgecombe, whichever, the Sixers want to go. I mean, you really can't go wrong with either one of them. There are rumors the Sixers could move out of number three to get off of the Paul George contract because it is terrible. If there's any team out there that is willing to take on the number three contract, maybe, Daryl Morey looks into it. And I don't know if he'd be crazy enough to do it. I think he should just keep the pick, but we'll see how much they actually want to get off the Paul George contract. That's going to be interesting to watch. I do want to talk about the teams that did actually kind of get screwed over a little bit. The Hornets, the Jazz, the Wizards, especially. The worst possible case scenario happened for the Utah Jazz. They had the worst record in the league. So when you have the worst record in the league, you're guaranteed at least the fifth pick. They got absolutely screwed, and they got moved all the way down in the fifth pick. The Wizards got moved to sixth. Who's seven? The Pelicans got screwed as well. They moved down to seven, right? And all these other teams that were towards the bottom of the lottery, besides the Sixers, they get lucky and they jump up. And that's the whole new lottery system. So it really begs the question, is the draft lottery rigged? And there's a lot of conspiracies, and the biggest one about this revolves around the Luka Doncic trade. So let's circle back a little bit where Nico Harrison out of nowhere traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers. Didn't field offers from any other teams. Only went directly to the Lakers, and just like that, after one, two phone calls, bam, Luka Doncic is a Laker. People want to make theories that Adam Silver said to Nico Harrison, if you give the Lakers a future, you gift them Luka Doncic, we will give you the number one overall pick in the draft. Is that true? Zach, what are your thoughts on that? I've been talking a lot. I want you to give your opinion on that.
So yeah, I'll give my thoughts on the NBA draft as a whole, and I'll touch base on a little bit of everything
Yeah.
you just mentioned. So
Mhm.
just starting off first with the Mavericks and their number one overall pick
Okay.
now with Cooper Flag. Just to to touch base on the Giannis trade and everything with that. I don't I don't know. It's a tricky decision because Giannis at the same time is the proven talent. You know what you're getting with Giannis. He is that guy. He's led the Bucks. He led the Bucks to a championship, and he's been there. He's done the dance before. So um, that's what you know what you're getting out of Giannis when you make a move like that, when you try to do something funky and give up another potential piece of your future to get Giannis and get a more of a win now team. And if you're wanting to do that, wanting to go down that route, Nico is willing to go down that route, by all means. I guess he already made that crazy trade for with Luca at the deadline, if he wants to explore that route, he could go ahead and do that. I think the best case scenario, or what they should do, is obviously just keep the number one overall pick. Keep Cooper Flag. He's going to be a demon. I think he's going to absolutely blossom as like from the moment he gets into the league. Maybe he gets off to a slow start, but I highly doubt it. I really do, because like he's the full package. He really is. He really is a five tool, full package player. Everything you want out of a guy, and everything you want out of someone that could potentially lead your team in the future. So I think their best bet is to keep the number one overall pick. Now heading into the Spurs, um, yeah, crazy. I think it's ridiculous. Not only that they got the number two overall pick, they not that I don't know if it really matters too much, but still number 14 as well. That's wild. That's still crazy. They already have a super talented young team, young roster. So that's why I believe the Giannis trade really makes sense a lot for them. Because the more you talked about it too, and the more I thought about it, um, they have a lot of good young talent right now. They need someone else to be a leader, someone else with that experience, a vet. And that's what Giannis is. And they could if they could bring him to the Spurs and they got De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama. I don't know if I'm pretty sure he should be good to go starting next year. I don't know what the word is as of late on his he had blood clots, right, Deej?
It was not. I'm honestly,
I believe it was blood
yeah.
clots.
I'm truthfully not too familiar with it, but yeah.
I'm 99% sure it was blood clots. But as long as he's good and everything goes according to plan in the summer, gets rest and stuff, gets ready for the next season, dude, if you add Giannis, that's a crazy lineup. That's a crazy lineup with a lot of young talent to back it up. Keldon Johnson, Stephen Castle, all those guys, Devin Vassell, all those guys combined into one, and like it's a really talented team,
Hmm.
talented roster. So I think that move makes more sense for the Spurs than it does for the Mavericks. And then, like you said, there's people that got screwed in the draft. But I'll just touch base real quick on the Sixers. Um, it would be interesting to see what they do. I don't know if they're gonna find a suitor to for that Paul George contract because I mean, as much as Paul George can be good and can be that an X factor to any team, it's just his health and his ability to stay on the court. That's always been the thing with him. And I feel like the Sixers just have so many problems with that, like injuries wise too, with like Embiid. They just went through all that stuff with Embiid last year and how he wasn't gonna play back to backs. And I feel like they need a win. And I feel like they could get that at the number three pick. But then again, if they could somehow find someone that is willing to take on Paul George and his contract and everything like that, and you pair that with what the number three pick and try to get a good package in return for that. If the package is right, make the deal. If not, stick with number three and try to take Ace Bailey probably, or you said VJ Edgecombe. either
Hmm.
or. Um, so I think it's kind of like a win-win for them. It's either they're gonna make that move and they're gonna find a buyer for George, or they're gonna sit pretty where they're at, take number three, take either Ace or Edgecombe, and that's it. That'll be their draft. But other
Hmm.
teams, yeah, like I feel bad for the Jazz. I feel bad for the Hornets. I know you don't want to talk about it, but I really do feel bad for the Nets. Um, it just it's rough because those teams went through the brunt of it all year, as you mentioned about the Jazz and them being the worst record and guaranteed a top five pick, and they get number five. So I feel bad for those teams that got screwed in the draft, but just to talk about the teams that like won, good for them. Good for the Mavs. I'm more so happy. I'm not even really happy for like the front office, really. I'm mainly happy for Mavs fans because I mean, I can't again, I can't really say they deserve it because like they went through that struggle, but there's teams that I feel like have struggled for a longer time than they have, and they still did make the play in, like you said. So I feel for the teams that didn't get higher picks, and it's good for the teams that did. So that's just kind of my thoughts on the NBA draft. And Matt, if you want to take us away with the next topic, we could just move swiftly along
Hmm.
and go right into it.
No, yeah. So I mean, we kind of touched a little bit on Giannis, but this whole centered topic is going to be around Giannis. So, pretty much, Giannis has finally openly agreed to look at a potential trade offer out of Milwaukee. And for me personally, I'll give my opinion on this first. I don't think Milwaukee, if Giannis were to stay in Milwaukee, I don't think there's anything they could do to win a championship. I think that window is closed. They won in 2021. Granted, some things happened for them to get there, but they did win. So regardless, Giannis does have a championship under his belt. But Dame is hurt now. I mean, you have Kyle Kuzma who has not been, all that great. Brooke Lopez is probably going to leave, or he's getting older up there in age. So they don't have any of their picks really. They have no promising future in terms of young players. So Milwaukee's in a really interesting situation, and I think Giannis sees that and he wants to capitalize on the rest of his career in the NBA. And there are obviously a couple of teams that are going to probably pitch a really good offer to Milwaukee. And we already touched on a couple of them, but I'm just going to go down the list again. So now that the Mavericks do have the number one overall pick, it really does get interesting because, like I said, Nico Harrison can really just be like, yo, let's just swap. We'll give you Cooper Flag. We'll take Giannis. Obviously, some salary is going to be in there, but it really will come down to if the Mavericks want to do that. Because I truthfully think that if Dallas calls Milwaukee with that offer, I think Milwaukee takes it. I do. Because the fact that Giannis is open to a trade, I think that's the best return you can get. The number one pick in the draft, possibly a generational player in Cooper Flag. Now we move on to the Spurs. The Spurs are going to have like I said, another interesting offer. They have the number two pick. So the Spurs and Mavericks really jumping up in this draft lottery really help their chances. Now, that second overall pick is projected to be, Dylan Harper. If Milwaukee gets the pick, they can do whatever they want with it, obviously. But right now, let's just say it's Dylan Harper. Is Stephon Castle in that trade? Who knows? Salary filler. The Spurs have a ton of picks to offer. Spurs are also great cap wise, flexibility wise. So Giannis going to the Spurs would be absolutely lethal for them. And honestly, kind of like the whole Dame thing, Dame wanted to go to Miami, but obviously Portland didn't honor it. So really, Giannis can just say a specific team he wants to go to, but that doesn't mean Milwaukee has to honor it. But I feel like Milwaukee might honor it. I feel like it's different between Giannis and Dame. Giannis won you a championship, one of the best, if not the best player in franchise history. But that's all that. Those are the two obvious ones because they did jump up, so it really helps their chances. But now I do want to talk about the other ones before the draft lottery. OKC and the Houston Rockets. Let's talk about OKC for a second. I don't know what the player return would look like for OKC. Probably Hartenstein, maybe Wallace, Nikola Topic. Maybe that's the trade. And then plus, OKC has unlimited first round picks. So maybe they just unload the clip for Giannis. That could be very interesting for Milwaukee. I am a little bit more intrigued, I'm not going to lie, with a potential Spurs offer because I just think you can get a lot younger and better players, and I think you get a shit ton of picks. Sorry, excuse my French. I just think you get a lot more picks from the Spurs, and I don't know if those OKC picks are going to be as valuable. So I'm leaning more towards the Spurs. And then the last team I do want to touch on is the Houston Rockets because kind of similarly, they can offer the Phoenix Suns picks. I mean, they do have Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore. They have an incredible young core that they can move for Giannis. It really comes down to how much does Milwaukee value those young players and how much does Houston actually value those young players. I think that Jabari, um, maybe Cam Whitmore, Jalen Green would be in the trade regardless. Maybe that's a lot. Maybe they only do two out of the four people I named before. Maybe they do three. Maybe they do all four. If you get all four, maybe Milwaukee should take that trade because a swap of Giannis for Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard plus picks, that's a great start to a rebuild. So with that being said, those are the people that I do see in the mix for Giannis. I know there's been talk with the Knicks, but the Knicks are probably going to win the NBA Finals this year. So why would you trade for Giannis? Why would you ruin the team that just won the NBA Finals? Why would you do that? There's other teams in the mix, like the Nets were rumored. That's a joke. I mean, what other teams could get in on him? Lakers are always rumored. They're not going to get him. I think those are the four teams that we definitely should watch. Giannis did also say that he wants to play in a state with no income tax, and I know for a fact Texas does not have income tax. So coincidentally, all three Texas teams are actually on this list. So I do think that it's going to be very interesting. I think Giannis is going to be a Spur. That is my prediction, and I think that is probably the team that can give a very intriguing offer and the most realistic offer to Milwaukee. So that's my take on Giannis. Zach, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, but that's
Um,
how I see it. That's how I see it.
yeah, no, I could just touch base on OKC and Houston because I
Sure,
haven't
go
talked
for it.
about
Go
them
for it.
yet. Um, so yeah, just briefly to touch on the whole Giannis thing in general. It's just time. I feel like the regime in Milwaukee is over. I feel like they just can't like build anything. There's nothing to build anymore. Like, and I feel for Dame because Dame I didn't go there, but like Dame wanted to be there to wanted to win a ring. That's the whole goal. Like I feel for Dame because he was on Portland for so long, and then now he went to Milwaukee, and then he got paired with Giannis, and you're thinking like, oh, this could be really fun. This could be a really interesting duo. How would they do if both of them are healthy and on the court? If Dame can stay healthy for a full year, um, and it didn't work out. So they're looking for a change. They're looking for a rebuild. And they could get that. They could very much get that. We've talked about the Mavericks, we've talked about the Spurs, but now I'm just gonna go into like OKC and Houston and just touch base on them. So like you mentioned with the trade packages, I'm just gonna talk like in general. The OKC, I think that would be really interesting to see him go there. Um, but I think it honestly is going to depend on how this playoffs end up for them. They may still end up going up after him. They probably will. Who wouldn't? It's Giannis. But I feel like especially if they lose this year, and if they lose in the second round, um, I think they're just gonna want to go crazy and like get that guy, get that solidified guy, add him to the lineup and then just have OKC wreak havoc on the West. And I think that team would be dirty with Giannis too. As for Houston, like you said, they have a really talented young core. Like the Thompson twin, like Fred Van Vliet's there. You got a ton of guys. Um, on that Houston team, Jalen Green might get moved if he gets moved in the Giannis trade. But Sengun, all those guys. So I think if you find a way to get him to Houston, I think that'd be another good piece for them to add because they just lost to the Warriors in the first round. So I feel like they're looking for that the same similar reason they'd be looking for that piece to push them over the edge, and Giannis could very much do that with them and the talent they already have on their roster. So. I feel like it's the same situation really for both teams, mainly more so for Houston now that they're actually eliminated and their playoff hopes are done for this year and their dreams of winning a championship. So but OKC's still alive. I feel like it's gonna play at least a little bit of a factor, how far they go this year. Because if they don't make it on to at least the Western Conference Finals, I think they're gonna want to get an X factor, and Giannis is that X factor. So that's just my thoughts on those two teams. Where he actually ends up, who knows? Obviously, like you said, the random teams like the Lakers are in the mix. Obviously, the Nets. Um, who knows if he does end up going to the Lakers for whatever reason? That's an unbelievable trio. Um,
He
but
will not, dude.
I the league would be in trouble if those three are healthy and on the court all the time. It's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem. But and again, we'll see where Giannis really ends up. Now we're just gonna go straight into some more news, some recent news that actually happened just a couple hours ago. And that is the Pacers. They knocked out the Cavs in stunning fashion. I, along with a lot of people, probably. I mean, I guess I can't really. I'm gonna exclude my name from this just because of the Cavs videos in the past and stuff like that. So most people around the world thought that the Cavs are moving on 100%. It was probably gonna be a decent fight with the Pacers, but nothing to this extent. Like 4-1, you only win one game. And the funny thing too is I three of the Pacers wins were at Cleveland. So it's I guess it's funny the right team gets hot at the right time. That's just how playoffs work. It happens in every sport.
Hmm.
It could be an underdog team. It could be the favorite. It doesn't really matter in sports, and anybody can win. That's the beauty of it. So the Pacers punch their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they will either face the Boston Celtics or the New York Knicks. But right now, it's really looking on the Knicks, looking like the Knicks, and we'll touch on that later on because we do have that later on in the podcast. But
Hmm.
for now, Pacers, I'm just shocked completely to my core. Like never in a million years did I expect them to at least do that in the fashion that they did. So,
Hmm.
do they have a legitimate shot at winning the finals? I think they have a legitimate shot of going to the finals. Winning the finals may be a different story. They face whatever happens. Obviously, we can't predict the winner of the Knicks series because we don't know yet. It's the game five happens tomorrow night, and it'll either go to a game six or it either end there. So if they do end up facing the Knicks, they've faced the Knicks before. They've been there, done that. They've won, they've beaten the Knicks, and they could very much do it again. The Pacers are just such a good team, good constructed, and like you just think back to the Halliburton trade in the beginning and like what started it all, and it was that move, bringing him on, that's allowed them to blossom like they have in the past couple of years. Two back-to-back trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. Gotta feel proud if you're an Indiana fan. Gotta feel proud. But they do. So to answer that question, they do. They do have a legitimate shot of at least making it to the finals. As
Hmm.
far as winning the finals, I'm not entirely sure because that's looking like it's a toss up with the OKC series, but definitely, definitely the Timberwolves will be in the Western Conference Finals. So we'll see how that shakes up and who actually ends up advancing on and facing them if they so happen to make it to the finals.
Hmm.
But yeah, they've beaten the Knicks before. The Knicks are a talented roster, and they are taking down a Goliath in the Celtics if they win. But the Pacers also took down a Goliath in the Cavs. So two hungry teams ready to battle it out for a trip to go to the NBA Finals. It's going to be an entertaining series to say the least, but they for sure have a chance to go to the finals.
Hmm.
What do you think about the Pacers advancing on?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a shot to go to the finals. I mean, like you said, the playoffs are a crapshoot, and the way that these playoffs have gone, especially in the Eastern Conference, anything's possible. You know, I mean, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so I mean, you look at their the team on paper, and it's a fun team. You know, you got Halliburton, you got Turner, right? You got Neesmith, you got Mathurin, you got Siakam, you got TJ McConnell. It's a fun team. It really is a fun team. And honestly, like I'm happy for Pacers fans. I really am because like I feel like Pacers don't get enough love. And I feel like a lot of people think Tyrese Halliburton is overrated. And I think tonight's performance, I don't know if you saw, I think it was like 39 points or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, I
39
did see.
points absolutely just sealed the deal for the Pacers, and they definitely have a shot to do it. And right now, they're probably going to play the Knicks, and we'll get into the Knicks a little bit later on in this pod. But they definitely do have a shot. Will they win the finals? I mean, I wouldn't say they're the favorite, but just because you're not the favorite doesn't mean you're not going to win, as we've seen from these other series. So, with that being said, I'm really intrigued to see how they do in the conference finals. I mean, we know they have the dog in them, and I think it would be super, super fun to see the Pacers in the finals.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
it's gonna be certainly really interesting to see
I'll be rooting
what
for them.
what they're gonna do in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Whoever they play, I'll root for them. I got a Halliburton jersey. I'll be cheering for Halliburton. I love Halliburton. One of my favorite NBA players.
You know what the beauty of Halliburton's game is too? Like I feel like he's one of those players that could like turn it on and off whenever he pleases. Like if
Hmm.
they need if the Pacers are calling for him to score and get buckets, he'll do that as he showed tonight. 39 points in a closeout game. Like you can't ask for anything better than that. But like usually he's more of a playmaker. He just facilitates. He gets the ball to wherever it needs to be and gets finds the open man. That's where he excels, and that's why I think he's just such a good guard. And it's gonna make for an interesting rematch because this Knicks team is certainly not the Knicks team that they faced last year.
Hmm.
They are 100% better than they were last year. And they're coming off of one of the most shocking series I think that I've ever witnessed with my own two eyes. Like you were down 20 points in game 1 and you still found a way to win. You were down a lot in game 2 and you still won game 2. You took the two opening games on Boston's home court and then you went back home and
Hmm.
did the job. All you had
Yeah.
to do at home was take one and that's what they did.
Let's just make this the next segment. Let's just go right to the Knicks.
Yeah, so let's just go straight into it. Tatum is one of the biggest topics of conversation at the moment because obviously he is done. And I mean done for
Oh,
a while.
okay.
Um oh, did you not want to go into that right
I
away?
mean, I said let's go to the Knicks. It's
Oh.
okay.
I was just gonna go straight into Tatum, but
Sure.
it's okay. Whatever. Tatum is done and he's hurt for a while. He's ruptured his Achilles and he will certainly be out not only just for the rest of the playoffs, but he will be out for probably all of next year because as doctors have said before it was officially released, if he did, which he did, rupture his Achilles, he would be out 6 to 9 months. And that's a really tough break because that changes honestly the entire landscape of the NBA because again, the Celtics, the big bad Celtics are one of are gonna be we're gonna be the favorites to win the finals for years to come. Like they again, their roster was so well constructed, well put together. They had so much depth on the bench and guys who could just drop a 40 bomb any night like Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. Um but now they're going through it. Now they're going through it. They don't have Tatum and that's going to affect them drastically. Is that obviously that's their star guy. That's their face of the franchise and he will not be there the all of next year. So that really begs the question of what their plans for the offseason are. Are they going to make moves? Are they going to try to get someone to replace? You can never really replace Tatum, but like fill in while he's hurt for a season or so. Like I don't know what their plan of action is now, but it's certainly dark hours for the Celtics because now they're heading into Game 5 without their star player, and this is a crucial game. Obviously, it's win or go home. So it's looking really bad for the Celtics. I hope that he makes a speedy recovery and gets back to the Celtics as soon as possible. It's not really looking like that though. These injuries what happened is if you put too much pressure on that tendon, it just ruptures, it just pops. And
Hmm.
that's exactly what he did. He stepped back and it was just the wrong time on the wrong night and it just gave out. It happens. It really does, but you never want to see it because you never as a sports fan, you never want to beat the big bad team due to an injury. And now that's obviously not the case with this, but still it would have been good to see Tatum in game 5 because that would mean that the Knicks would have beaten a fully healthy Celtics roster.
Hmm.
But regardless, the series, unless the Celtics can pull a miracle out of their hat, is pretty much over for the most part. Not many teams in the NBA come back from a 3-1 deficit. Not many teams can. And especially without Tatum, I don't think the Celtics will be doing that. So, Deej, what's your thoughts on this injury and what this means for the Celtics going forward?
Yeah, well, first off, obviously it sucks, especially a player of Tatum's caliber to get an Achilles injury. And I know Tatum was the butt of the joke by pretty much everyone on social media. And, I even said some things about Tatum. But, it really sucks to see him go down like this. And you could really see he was in like agonizing pain. So it really sucks for the Celtics. I truthfully find it hard for them to come back from 3-1. So let's just say, I hope they prove me wrong. I really do. But let's just say they're out of it. This really does change the landscape of the NBA because now the East is 100% wide open. I mean, obviously this year we've seen in the playoffs it's wide open, but every year we can kind of bank on the Celtics being the best team in the NBA. But now for next year, we have no idea. Giannis is gone. He's going to be out of the East most likely. I mean, the four teams that we think that he's going to go to are all Western teams. At least that's what we've talked about. Giannis is most likely going to be gone. Pretty much all the top picks in the draft, Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, right? They're going to be in the West, assuming, well, maybe if one gets traded for Giannis, so we'll see. But right now, assuming no Giannis trade, they'll be in the West. The East, the talent level in the East and the West is just it's different. West is up here, East is really down here. So the East is up for grabs, and that is the biggest thing with this Tatum injury. And there's also reports that the Celtics might look very different. I mean, Joe Mazzulla could be on the hot seat. I don't think he should be. I mean, they did just win the NBA Finals, but they could fire Joe Mazzulla. I've been hearing reports, the Celtics might need to get rid of some money. And crazy enough, I don't know how true it is going to be. I don't know how realistic this might be in the offseason. But I could totally see the Celtics exploring trades for Kristaps or even Drew Holiday. I don't think they would trade Jaylen Brown. There's going to be some people out there that will make an argument that Jaylen Brown is better than Jason Tatum. And I will sit here and I will truthfully listen because I am intrigued by that. I am truthfully intrigued by that take. But I could totally see, like I said, Porzingis or Drew possibly getting moved. I don't think they move Derek White. I think he's too valuable to the team. So the Celtics could really look very differently. And this Tatum injury doesn't do them any favors. In fact, I think it benefits every single other team in the Eastern Conference. So that is kind of how this Tatum, thing really structures and shapes the landscape of the future of the NBA. And we could see potentially a different Eastern Conference team run the conference for the foreseeable future. And one team that could be is the New York Knicks, which I think I'm just going to go right into,
Go ahead. Go
unless you
ahead.
want to, unless you want
Yeah.
to talk about anything.
No, no, go ahead.
So I
Go
mean,
ahead.
as we speak right now, this series is not over, but let's be real, guys, it's over. The Knicks pretty much killed the Celtics. They pretty much killed the Celtics. They were down by like 20 plus in multiple games and somehow found a way to come back. Jalen Brunson, you got Mikal Bridges, who's finally kind of breaking out for the Knicks. Knicks fans are still saying all those picks are worth it. And I mean, if Mikal plays the way he does and it leads to a championship, then at the end of the day, any trade you make is worth it, no matter what you gave up. So currently, as we stand, they're one win away from advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. We know how good the Knicks have been. I really want to get to the brass tacks and talk about, do they have a legitimate shot of of beating the Pacers, which I do think they do, and then more importantly, do they have a legitimate shot of beating anyone in the Western Conference? So right now, we can go back and forth. I 100% think they have I think they're the favorites to beat the Pacers. I do. But I don't want to fully give up on the Pacers. I mean, they're a very gritty team and back-to-back years they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's definitely not something to overlook. But I think just the way the Knicks are playing, I do consider them the favorites over the Pacers. I mean, I feel like you think the same, Zach. You can say something if you agree.
No, no, I
Okay.
fully agree with you
Yeah.
because and again, like just the way the Knicks are playing right now, is just unreal. And then again, this is a team that if you think back to the regular season, could not beat the good teams. It could not happen during the regular season. But they have stepped up their game. They have brought their A game in this Celtics series as they needed to. They needed to. The Pistons series, although the Pistons are a fun team, they're still young. They need more experience, and they were also missing a pretty valuable piece in Jaden Ivey too. So,
Hmm.
but regardless, Pistons series you still had to take seriously, obviously, because any series you have to take seriously. It's a playoff series, but it was a little light-hearted series more so than the Celtics series. But they've brought their A game. I have never seen a comeback win in the fashion that they did in game one, and to do that and to come back out like I said on game two, take the win there and then go back home and do the job yet again and take one at home. It's incredible. Jalen Brunson's one of the most clutch and like most reliable guys when it comes down to it. He just comes through for the Knicks team on countless occasions when he's even if he's shooting like terrible from behind the three,
Hmm.
he still finds a way when it matters in the fourth quarter to just I don't know, like just ignite and like just take off. And I feel like that's gonna be the biggest X factor. And now, if you remember, I think a couple people that guarded Brunson in that Eastern Conference Finals last year was I think Neesmith guarded him a
Okay.
little bit. He locked him down a little bit. TJ McConnell, if you remember that, they went back and forth. They
Yeah.
jarred, and I think occasionally they threw Nebard on him or Nembard, sorry, Nembard on him. And he played some defense, but for the majority, I'm pretty sure I remember Neesmith playing most of the defense on Brunson. So I think that'll be his matchup going into the Pacers series, and that kid has defense. So it's gonna be tough. But again, this is a different Knicks team. They're coming in definitely more hungry, more eager to take home a
Yeah.
championship
Hmm.
than ever. They're motivated. They are here. The Knicks are here, and they got a whole city backing them up. I mean, if you saw some videos on TikTok and Instagram and all that and shorts of the aftermath of game four, dude, it was crazy. Like I'm talking like I don't even think the cops in New York could like shut down the area. How wild it was getting because the Knicks won. So again, just not trying to go off track. I think again the Knicks 100%. Do they have a legitimate shot to go to the finals? 100%, 110%.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's not going to be a cakewalk. I mean, whoever you face in the West is going to be a difficult challenge. It's going to be a difficult challenge because you got the Nuggets. Nuggets are a great team. I can't count the Warriors anymore because it's already 3-1. The series is already over. So I'm only looking at the Timberwolves in that series and then OKC. So those three teams, potentially one of those three teams, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. The Denver Nuggets are so good, so talented. And OKC's so talented. They're honestly probably a little more hungrier than last year as well, coming off that loss last year. So they're gonna look to try to stomp on the Knicks' throats if they make it to the finals. And then obviously the Timberwolves are gonna be something to look out for because if for some reason
Hmm.
Ant Edwards gets to the finals,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a problem. That's
It
gonna be a
could.
problem because
It
he's
could.
gonna
Mhm.
you good.
No, no, I was just saying it could very well be the Timberwolves. I think. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some people think they're the favorites right now. But yeah.
I was gonna say too, like he's Anthony Edwards is already insanely good during the regular season, insanely good in the playoffs. But if he makes it to the finals, I think he's just going to take his game to a whole extra step up, a whole extra level.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a challenge for the Knicks going forward, but they for sure have a legitimate shot at going to the finals and honestly winning the finals too.
Mhm.
Because again, taking down the Celtics, not easy to do. Very not easy to do. So that's all I really have to say on the Knicks. Matt, you have anything else to add?
No, I not really. I think we really touched on everything. I mean, all I'll say is I think a lot of people truthfully thought that this was all or nothing after trading Mikal Bridges, after getting Cat. And it really seems like the Knicks are taking full advantage of it. I mean, not to take anything away from them, but like obviously, the Celtics are dealing with injuries, you get the Pistons, like that's just that's fine because to win a championship, sometimes you do need luck. I forget who said it might have been honestly JJ Redick, but to win a championship, you do need a little bit of luck. That's just how it works. So
Hmm.
a lot of things have to go your way. Just because you're the best team on paper doesn't mean that you're the favorite to win. It could help you, but it doesn't make you the actual favorite, like odds wise, to win. So, Knicks are taking full advantage of everything. Maybe they could bring New York's first championship since I believe the Yankees, right, in '09. I mean, I don't. Oh no, no, the Giants. I guess Super Bowl. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I
First,
think so.
yeah, it
I'm
has to
pretty
be the
sure.
Giants. I mean, um, Yankees were close last year, the Mets World Series. I think that was the closest we've been since. So maybe the Knicks can do something for New York. But with that being said, I guess that's all I got. Knicks fans are going to absolutely destroy the city. So we will
Yeah.
see what happens. It's going to be fun. And these playoffs honestly have not disappointed so far. They have not disappointed.
Yeah. Just one last thing. I can't believe I didn't touch on Macau. The only thing I'm gonna say on Macau is granted, you probably definitely could have gotten a better player than Macau. He has certainly like proven his worth at least and has come through in ways defensively that you couldn't even imagine. Like he's defensively this series, even a little offensively, but mainly defensively with the timely steals that he's been getting and just the lockdown defense he's been playing has been a real key in them being in the position that they're in now. He stole a win. He was the reason why they won one of the games in the Garden. That game two. It was 91 to 90. I'm pretty sure the final score was. And it was because he got that final steal and closed it out. So he's come up in very big ways for New York. Granted, again, like I said, could have gotten a better person for that package, but I think the Knicks are just rolling. I think they're just comfortable with what they got. But
Mhm.
yeah, with that being said, that about wraps it up. And again, this NBA playoffs for me too. You got to realize too, Deej. I don't know. This is coming from like straight from the heart too. I haven't really watched NBA playoffs in recent years. Like
Mhm.
I think this is the first year, truthfully, that I've been actually entertained from honestly from like the play-in tournament on. Like they've been really good games. They've been really good games, really good series, and it's been a ton of fun to watch. So we will only keep updating you on future as future playoff
Yeah.
updates and
Hmm.
as the playoffs keep going on, we'll keep updating you guys on that and any trades or anything like that, we'll keep updating you on that and then obviously more baseball news as time goes on. But
Hmm.
with that being said, that wraps up episode 54 of the Do You Know Ball podcast. We will catch you guys next week for episode 55.